What up, world? What up, me? This is Drewize. Come at like this. Drewize Topics. What up, YouTube? I want to talk about this topic. So parents that's come across this video, they got kids, can understand. Can understand. And this is my opinion that I agree. Topic is parents need to soothe and calm down and quiet their children from all that crying in public places and sometimes residential, metropolitan, or whatever area. You know? Okay, now it's some parents, mothers, or fathers, or anybody that take care of children. Now, when you go out to public places, out to a restaurant, out to a movie theater, whatever, and you got children that are infants or toddlers, because I don't see no child that's 8, 9, 10, whatever, 11, or even 6 or 7 could be crying like that for a long period of time. No. Now, it was a incident, 2 incidents they broadcast on the news. The current one they broadcast yesterday, about their child crying so much because the residents made a complaint. Made a complaint. The person that made a complaint wrote this person a letter. They broadcast this on Fox 8 News yesterday. The person that filed a complaint about the resident child keep on screaming and crying and stuff like that for a long period of time, going on crying, So the person got put out for that, because they count that as disturbing the peace. Disturbance, Another incident. This person brought their child into the restaurant, and that child kept on crying and crying and crying. The manager, the owner, whoever that was of that business, she pounded her hand on the bar counter and say, "That's enough. Quiet yourself." The child stopped. Stopped crying. And it was a big deal about it. You know what I'm saying? The mother, the parent was like, she shouldn't have did that. You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't see nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't see nothing wrong with that. So the owner had explained that, which I agree, saying this child is disturbing the peace. This child is disturbing my customers, and this child gonna make me lose customers, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Disturbing the peace. Some of these people that come in my business either try to enjoy their time on break, lunch break, or try to do a little studying or whatever, do something, So I agree, disturbing the peace. Now, if you are a parent that has children and you live in metropolitan housing, some type of low-income housing or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You cannot, or just live in an apartment building and you got kids and you live around neighbors that are single or couples or elderly or college students. You know what I'm saying? You cannot live around people like that, you know what I'm saying? If you have children that cries and screams and stuff like that, you disturbing the peace, you know what I'm saying? For real. Especially when that child is crying and crying and crying longer than 5 minutes, longer than 10 minutes, whatever. And some parents don't even try to attend to that child, try to stop that child from crying and soothe that child. They just let it cry until it cries out it's asleep or something, tire itself out. Now, people that come home from work in the morning, they work third shift, work overnight, or they getting up, whatever, to go to school or something, or getting ready to go to work, or trying to study, you know what I'm saying? Or you live next door to elderly, you know what I'm saying? Especially elderlies. They go say that over there, that child is keep crying. They need to do something about it. So they file a complaint, you know what I'm saying? When you have a family like that, you should live somewhere that people have other children too. You know what I'm saying? A family development, you know, where other kids and parents got children. You can't live somewhere with if it's just a single person or a couple or elderly or a college student. You can't live that when you have children. No, you can't. You know what I'm saying? So you can disagree all you want to. You know what I'm saying? But this is real. This is real, yo. You know? Because certain people, they cannot deal with all that crying from a child like that. That child keeps crying and crying and crying. They can't deal with that. That's aggravation and that's irritating. And that's why some parents wind up hurting that child or even killing that child, even doing like a shaken baby syndrome, whatever, or doing something to that child because they can't take that crying. You know what I'm saying? And some parents is not going to even try to resolve it and try to silence that child and try to soothe that child and say, that's enough, all this crying. You know what I'm saying? You don't even try. So I agree to that. You know what I'm saying? If I have a business, if I run a business, a successful business, I'm getting customers weekly, daily, every day I get customers. And some parent brings their child in my business. Now, you know what I'm saying? There's no law for me to not to do this. There's no law out there. Now, if that person brings their child in there and that child goes to crying more than 10 minutes, more than 20 minutes, keep crying and crying. And my customers get aggravated and get irritated and they walk out. You know what I'm saying? I have to do something and say, ma'am, sir, I think it's best for you and your child to leave. Leave. You know what I'm saying? Don't get smart with them. Don't start an argument scene. Just come up to polite. You the manager. You the boss. You the owner. Ma'am, sir, I think it's best for you to leave because your child is keep on crying. I see that you're not trying to attend to this child, to silence and soothe this child, to get it to stop crying. I have to ask you to leave. You know, take your child and leave. Go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? You have to do that. You know what I'm saying? You have to. You know, that's bad for business. Now, in residence, if you live somewhere in some type of development, and that child keeps crying and crying, and you are there, you're right there, you try to tune it out, and you next door, you try to get some sleep, you know what I'm saying? You try to study, you know, you coming home from work and working third shift, and that child keeps crying. You have to report that as a disturbance. That is a disturbance. Regardless of that child, you can't excuse that. Regardless, that is a disturbance. You know what I'm saying? So other people are not going to see it this way. Parents are not going to see it this way. But people that hear one by this video will see it this way. That's a disturbance. You're disturbing the peace, you know? For real. This is real. I got kids myself. I got 3 children. You know, they're not infants. They're not toddlers. You know what I'm saying? They range from 7 through going on 12. You know what I'm saying? 3 children. You know? Now, my son, when he was a baby, you know what I'm saying? He didn't cry so much. He didn't cry so much. But only when he cried is when he got constipated. He couldn't go to the bathroom, do number 2 in his diaper because he got constipated from the milk, you know what I'm saying, of the Similac formula milk, you know. So he would cry about that. But he was all right, you know, so he was cool. He didn't give me no trouble crying, whatever. He did wake up in the middle of the night, but he didn't cry. Now my daughters, oh my goodness, they was some crybabies. You know what I'm saying? Crying, crying, crying. You know what I'm saying? But what I did was I pick them up, I walk around with them, walk and hold them, you know, pat their back, and then they simmer down, they calm down, they soothe themselves. You know what I'm saying? Their mother didn't do that. She was too lazy to do it. She ain't gonna like, I ain't doing that. She just rock them back and forth and do like that. I don't do nothing. You gotta walk with these kids, you know, walk with these babies, you know? That's what I did, you know? Just like today, this morning, when I went up to use the hospital's Wi-Fi to upload videos and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I was already out and about. This young girl had a child. You know what I'm saying? It was a little boy. You know, she walked with her mother, the grandma and her. This child came out the door screaming and hollering and crying and crying and crying. And she just walking, just walking and walking. I'm like, you not going to even try to stop this child from crying? Pick that child up or something. Tell her, do something. Don't let that child just cry his heart out like that. Do something. You know what I'm saying? Don't just ignore it. Do something, you know? So, that's all that is crying like that. A child cries and cries and cries repeatedly, keep crying. That's irritating and that's aggravation. You know what I'm saying? And I tell you which is true. That's why certain parents do that to their children, far as hurting them or wind up killing them. Or whatever. Some friend watches somebody else's kids wind up killing them because they cannot tolerate that crying so much. That repeating crying, keep crying and crying. You know what I'm saying? You have to approach it and say, that's enough with this crying. You know, soothe that child. Calm that child down. You know? Yeah. So, I mean, that's all categorized as disturbing the peace. There's no law out there in the United States of America in government. There's no law passed that say you should hold your tongue and don't say nothing. If you do say something, you go to jail. There's no law. You have to speak up and tell these parents this. Silence your child. Soothe that child. Quiet that child. You know what I'm saying? You come in my business. I'm running a successful business now. You know what I'm saying? You come in my business. I'm not going to tolerate that. You have to leave. You know what I'm saying? You have to go. You know what I'm saying? Go somewhere. You have to go home, but you got to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Because you're disturbing my customers. And you're disturbing me. You know what I'm saying? I can't think straight with this child keep crying and crying. Now you live in an apartment building or apartment and you got residents and you got neighbors and stuff like that. You know? I'm going to report that. This child keep crying and crying and crying. The parent is not doing nothing but just sitting there tuning this child out while this child is crying and crying. Gotta report it. That's disturbing the peace. Yeah. Say what you want. Say what you want. But you have to look at that. You have to look at that. All that crying that child's doing is irritating and is aggravating. You know, it's, oh my God. That's why I don't want no more children, no babies. I don't want it because I don't want to deal with all that crying. I don't want to deal with it. My children, my 3 kids, they are getting up in age. My oldest son, my oldest child, which is he's my son. He's going on 12 years old, so he be categorized as a preteen. You know, so yeah, I ain't having no more babies. Forget the hell with that. You know what I'm saying? I plead the fifth on that, please. You know. Drewize Topics. I am Drewize. You can post a comment about what I just said if you like to. You know, like, share, subscribe. You have a nice day, pleasant day, you know, happy day, whatever. Do what you gotta do. Stay in your own lane. I am Drewize. This is Drewize Topics. Peace.